This little dolphin that I'm painting this afternoon is a bit of an experiment. For the last 10 years that I've been earning my living as an illustrator, I've always used watercolour, and then about 18 months ago I just stopped. I didn't want to paint anymore. My name is Danny Williams. I'm a full-time illustrator specialising in natural history illustrations for children. I've had some problems with my tripod today, so I'm sorry this isn't a wider shot, but hopefully you can still see what's going on. In the past, if I found myself in a bit of an art rut, I'd swap my usual watercolour pans for watercolour markers or watercolour pencils, or I'd switch the paper I was using. If you're new to painting and you just stick to the same paper all the time, I highly recommend you experiment with some different papers. The type, even the brand, can make a huge difference to how your paints behave. But last year I found myself in this rut, and it coincided with some external issues that also affected my business. There was the Royal Mail strikes and then a cyber attack which limited where I could ship to in the world and how quickly I could get things out to my customers. And then one of my most popular designs was stolen, and it was being sold on Amazon, eBay, Etsy and various other places without a license. This is actually an ongoing problem which I've so far been unable to do anything about, and I just try to ignore it, but honestly it's depressing and it's disheartening. And finally, my fancy and quite frankly expensive scanner stopped working, and that just felt like the universe telling me to stop. Switching the paints I was using wasn't going to help this time. I wasn't only fed up with my painting process, I was questioning the whole way I earned an income as an illustrator. And that's a bit of an existential crisis that I'm still wrestling with. So for a while, I just didn't draw at all. I packed Etsy orders, I tweaked my shop, I wrote, I crocheted, and then when I finally did get that itch to draw again, I turned to Procreate, and that's what I've been using pretty much ever since. It's a brilliant app. You can see on this picture not only did I cack-handedly splash paint on it before I'd even started, but I forgot to switch back to a smaller brush after mixing paint with a large one, and I've gone over the lines in so many places. Now, I'm obviously out of practice, but there's a lot to be said for working digitally and not having to worry about cleaning up your messy paintings. Not to mention the time saved in not having to scan and prepare a physical painting. I love the advantages that Procreate brings in that respect. But I hadn't completely fallen out of love with watercolours. When I look back at my old work, I still like most of it, and I love to watch other artists using watercolours. I love the idea of watercolour, I just wasn't happy with anything that I was producing, or with my workflow, or my business model. And I've spent 10 years working in watercolours. I've painted literally thousands of animals in watercolour, using the same messy process that I'm using here. Around 98% of the products that I sell in my Etsy shop were created from my watercolour illustrations. They're responsible for my income, so suddenly saying that I'm not going to do this anymore is a bit scary and probably kind of stupid. And I sometimes feel like I owe it to my past self to keep going with watercolour and not let my head get turned by some younger, sexier app. So this dolphin is an experiment to see how I feel now about watercolours. Did I just need to scratch this itch and remind myself that I don't enjoy it anymore and I was right to give it up? Or has absence made my heart grow fonder? My conclusions? Well, this dolphin is a big mess. There's not really a lot to like here. It was going to be a pan-tropical spotted dolphin, and I didn't even know what species I could say this was now. He's not even got any spots. I think I struggled a little because I was trying to keep my head out of the way of the camera. I'd normally have my face much closer to the picture. But it's also clear that I'm very out of practice, and painting, like any skill, is something that you need to keep working at. The whole time that I was drawing this guy, inking the outline, getting out the paints, waiting for them to dry before I could add the finishing touches, I just kept thinking how cumbersome the whole process is. And if I wanted to use this picture, I'd then have to scan it in, cut it out digitally, make adjustments in Photoshop, and then maybe add it to a composition depending on what I wanted to do with it. And that's where working digitally has so many huge advantages. In fact, if I wanted to add spots to this dolphin now, I could use watercolour or gouache or pencils, but I'd probably just do it in Procreate. Truthfully though, I did enjoy the actual painting process despite the mess and the fact that I basically just used grey. Do I want to go back to watercolours full time? No, absolutely not. Painting this dolphin today has reminded me of some of the reasons I stepped away from watercolours in the first place. But should I start painting again on a regular basis just for the pleasure of it? Yeah, probably. So if you hang around my channel over the coming months, I'll try and do some better paintings for you, and I'll talk about my favourite materials and how I use them. For now though, thanks for watching and I'll see you soon.